Today we're going to talk about boat oil and running it in your chainsaw. See how many people we can rile up doing this.
All right, so I just left Walmart and I have a two-stroke oil that is specifically meant for boat motors. And I'll get into why I picked this one. Here's my MS 400 that I normally do my oil test with. That last test with the Opti 2, I got a little bit of scuffing right there. So we're gonna clean this up. I'm also gonna flush the crankcase, because if you look down in there, you know, there's some particulates. So this is gonna be flushed multiple times with some mixed gas until I can get all that crap out of my crankcase.
There's two types of boat oils. One are the traditional, you know, pour it in, pump some gas. That's called a premix. And then there's one for oil injectors. The oil injector oil, whether it's motorcycle or marine, are usually a little thinner. They may have, you know, the same blend, you know, so to speak, but one's going to be made for oil injection, and those are just going to be a little thinner just to make sure that it can go through freely in the injection system. And that's how I understand it. I'm no expert, by the way. I'm just some redneck in a flannel shirt with a chainsaw. Any of you who are savvy about boat oil stuff and oil injection, feel free to chime in. But I've had more than enough comments over the last year and a half of two-stroke oil tests. You can't run boat oil in a chainsaw because it's meant for water-cooled engines and nah. Dude, you just need some lubrication. We'll see how. I had a limited selection at Walmart when I was there. There were only a handful of oils that were available in a pint. I wasn't going to buy a gallon for a one-tank test. But out of the premix style oils, I just gave them a shake and to find out which one's a little thicker. That's been one factor in what oils have done better as far as lubricating the crankcase. It's not a be-all, end-all. It's just one part of the puzzle that does seem to do better in these tests, is that they have a little bit more viscosity to start with. And again, like I said, there's not really that much online about this oil specifically. It's a mineral-based oil, so it's going to have a relatively low flash point, you know, because it's made for boats. But then again, the Schaefer 7000 that I ran for years, if you'll go back and look at that Steel Ultra, you should run anything but Ultra in your saw thing. It was one of my most popular videos. I just spontaneously went over and grabbed my personal chainsaw and broke it down, and running that 7000 Schaefer's, which is a TCW3 oil, had great film, burned clean. It did phenomenally well on a chainsaw, even though it's made for water-cooled engines.
I probably flushed the crankcase a half a dozen times until I really felt like I got all the grit out. And then I buffed up top of this piston with some Scotch-Brite. I like to use the red stuff. It's pretty fine and doesn't hurt the metal, but it'll lift enough. But that's about as clean as that'll get. That coating that's on this piston seems to absorb staining, so it doesn't really go away. And then buffed on that one little ugly spot right there until it's smooth. There's still something there, but you know, I just don't want to rub on it too hard. I have ordered a new piston for this. It's on back order, so I'm just going to have to be patient. And of course, you know, I oiled the rod, the needle bearing, and a couple of drops on each of the main crankshaft bearings. Again, so I just use a drill and the Scotch-Brite, roll it up on my drill, and then just buff this super light. You know, you can still see some shadowing, some hazing, but it's slick as a minnow. Light coat of oil on everything. So I'm ready to go back together. Somebody asked me about reusing the gasket. I do until this rubber coating starts to deteriorate. You can see a couple of flecks right there. That's not dirt. That's where the rubber is starting to lose its bond. So I'll be ordering a fresh gasket sooner than later. So anyway, let's put this thing together, mix up some gas, and go cut some wood. All right, everything's back together like nothing ever happened. Only mixing up a half a liter of fuel, and I've got 13 milliliters of oil right there. This stuff's on the purpley side. Let's see, how thick or thin it is. It's awful thin. All right. Let's see how the M-Tronic system corrects after having run that crappy ass 100-to-1 Opti 2 through it to some 40-to-1, same non-ethanol gas. Before we get to this teardown, just a friendly reminder, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Any help here on YouTube would definitely be appreciated. Get down and hit the like button as well. All right, I got everything tore down except for taking the cylinder loose. Let's have a quick peek. I got the muffler cover off. So if I can't zoom in here and just show you what it looks like. No extra oil, but everything's nice and shiny. Doesn't look like anything's hurt. Let's get the rest of this torn down and we'll have a look inside. All right, here we go with the meat and potatoes of this video. I can't stress enough how much I've learned helping educate and do some research over the last year and a half of what good oil is. And again, you know, Sabre and the motorcycle oils did really well. And a lot better than what our manufacturers offer to us. And I think that's the biggest thing. You know, try and stay away from 50-to-1. And, you know, 50-to-1, you have to remember, 50-to-1 is there just for making emissions. You know, there's not really anything that I'd run at 50-to-1 anymore after doing this over and over and over again. All right, looks pretty decent on the inside. Let's see how we did with boat oil. Yeah, still got a little bit of debris in there. There's oil clinging to everything. Crankcase is shiny. You know, for mineral oil, it did pretty good. You know, and I think this is indicative of what we had from the last time. You know, it really sucks. Again, subscribe and like and share these videos. You know, this piston's going to be a $100 bill. You know, YouTube's kind of stingy. They probably don't want me saying that, but YouTube's kind of stingy, if you ask me, for, you know, the effort that we go through. I mean, you know, that really burns pretty clean. You know, for what would be like an FB oil. You know, I hate to see stuff like this. But I think from here on out, I'm only going to start testing bougie oils with my new piston. You know, we can't keep doing this every day. You know, that's just, let's see what that is. You know, this, nothing really hurt there. And I think that's part of that is from when we're seeing, you know, where the last, that Opti came through and knocked that coating off the outside. So, you know, I don't see anything wrong with running this. And again, you know, we were limping going into this test. I can say that, you know, everything's got, you know, a nice film of oil on it. You know, is this my favorite oil? No, but you know, I feel like you could run this just fine. I don't see anything wrong. You know, there's your combustion chamber. It's you know, that squish band was polished pretty clean when I had Scotch-Brite in there earlier. And you know, it's that, but that's what you get with thin oil, you know. I don't know if that's, yeah, that was just some oil streaking in there. So nothing hurt there. Everything runs fine, looks good. Well, I think we're going to take a break from the old videos until whenever new piston comes in for this. I'm going to button this thing back up. And I'll just go back to doing my regular videos of chainsaw repairs and performance work and stuff like that. So with that being said, I appreciate you sticking around to the end. And I'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today.